First of all, I'm not an expert on mindfulness. Somehow it just happened to me. One reason was I used to write a column in Business Today called Buddha in the Boardroom. And the first article happened to be on mindfulness. And then I started getting a lot of invitations to talk on mindfulness conferences. I also attempted 5 years ago to do 2 retreats on mindfulness. And that time I was trying to understand what it is, which I haven't done after that. I was happy to accept this because it talked about leadership. And that's a passionate area for me to talk about. So I'm going to talk 3 things, and very conversational. I have no idea where to drive. I have no presentation. And I'm happy anytime to shut up and get into a conversation or a question and answer mode. The 3 things are, and one of the most interesting thing I happen to be here is that if there is one thing that I've done regularly, continuously, it's very difficult for me to stick to one thing. But if there is anything that I've stick really true for 30 years, is hypnosis. I hypnotize people. I started it when I was a second-year graduate student. I learned hypnosis and went around, and 18 years I went to IIT Delhi and hypnotized them on the festivals. And a lot of work that I get in the corporate world is because those IITians have gone and now they are senior people. And they get very scared that if this guy is going to hypnotize me now the way he did it that time. And then I went to do this in IIM. So I dwell deeper into the mind from a hypnosis perspective. Not much work has been done connecting these 2, but there is one powerful book on mindfulness and hypnosis. So that's one aspect that I'm. The second favorite topic is about leadership. Where is this whole? And the third is about looking at connections of all these 2 and what could be some practical applications that I possibly used in my life. Or because one, it is to know this as a concept. Second is about what do I do with it. Start with the leadership. How many of you are from the corporate world? So I get a sense of, good. So you know leadership very well. Who is known as the father of modern management? You management guys. So who is the father of modern management? Brilliant. Very rarely I get that answer. So Frederick Taylor is the father of modern management. Even of those of you who didn't get that, if I tell what Taylor did, you would know. Taylor came up with this concept called time and motion study. How many of you heard that? Yeah, brilliant. But I don't know if you have noticed, what Taylor did was he actually tricked a bunch of Hungarians and told them, if I'm going to give you a chutti, a leave for the next 10 days, how many pieces of logs you can shift today? So they felt very happy because from tomorrow it's a holiday. So they did hard work, but Taylor was noticing every day, everything. And he found, oh, that means you can do this, and Taylor made that into a norm, that you have to do this every day. So the function of management is to look at efficiency. How can I reduce? How can I be efficient? And how can I do that? And I think one of the big challenges, we use both the words interchangeably, management and leadership. Actually, it's opposite, but complementary. Taylor had an influence on establishing Harvard. So the management function is to make sure that I run something optimally, efficiently, effectively. And the function of leadership is to create a new possibility which will not happen as an extension of the past. Let me pause here. Most of the time, when I even set a futuristic goal, looking at how we did as an organization last year, I'm actually creating an extension of the past, not really a future. So the function of leadership is to create a possibility from the future itself, which means there could be a creative tension between these 2. Both are required. You need to manage self. You need to lead. But the moment we use semantically both words at the same time, we are messed up. Management institutes, management consultants, leadership consultants, unless we understand this. So that's where I ask the question, if the function of leadership is to create a new possibility that will not happen as an extension of the past, what kind of mental state you need to be to do that? I found that the mental state that you need to make things efficient, and mental state that you need to create something which never existed before could be two different places. If you don't trust me, tell me, where was Archimedes when he jumped up and shouted Eureka? Bathtub. The whole day he was trying hard in the laboratory. But then he left everything. And bathtub is a place where you are extremely mindful. Loo particularly. Actually, very reflective and mindful. Where was Newton when he heard the huge, great idea about theory of gravity? Under an apple tree. If Newton was born in a place where I was born, which is Kerala, he would be sitting actually under a coconut tree. And after a coconut falls on your head, you will never get theory of gravity. And I strongly believe Kerala had many Newtons, possibly all died. No, Kerala is a brilliant place, and I'm sure they had Newtons. But that's where it originated. Where was Einstein when he got the whole idea about theory of relativity? He was actually lying on a beach, imagining or dreaming what will happen if he traveled with the velocity of light, and in his dream, he found he will lose mass. So the theory I'm suggesting is, from a creation perspective, there is a specific mental state which is useful, which is conducive of generative thoughts, which reduces the past conditioned thoughts. That's my application when I talk about. And it's also connected to multiple other work which is happening in multiple parts of the world in the area of leadership. I don't know if you've heard something called a youth theory, which is a lot of research which is happening around youth theories in MIT, developed by a gentleman called Otto Scharmer. He actually asked large number of people, where do these great ideas originate? And he said, I can represent them in the form of a U, and I make it very simple. On the top of the U is your mind, where the reactive mind or your past conditioned mind, and the bottom of the U is where you go into a much deeper space and generate an idea and come out and apply that immediately. As simple as that. So there is contemporary other work which is happening which connects this concept if the function of leadership, and I have a very interesting definition of leadership which I use when I work with clients. Leadership is all about knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. That's interesting. So leadership is all about knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. And how do you know that? Where is that going to come from? It's not going to come from your past. It needs to come from a space which is fertile, space where you're much deeper, a space where you're still. And we all know that when you're coming from Kerala, I've noticed that if you go to a pond, you can't see the bottom of the pond if there are a lot of waves happening. And when they settle down, there's clarity. And how do we bring that clarity in a cluttered brain? That's about leadership stuff. Then I looked at hypnosis. What happens? And I used to work largely about one of the most interesting thing about hypnosis is the basic definition of hypnosis. It bypasses the critical factor of your conscious brain. Consciousness and conscious brain are two different things. Okay, Jenny too. The conscious brain is your reactive brain, which have stored all the past information. And when I say that, okay, 2 plus 2 is 5, you say, no, it's 4, because I know it's 4 from yesterday. So that doesn't allow new stuff to come in. It only allows the stuff that I think is right to come in. And that is the power of hypnosis when I used, because hypnosis can bypass that, the critical reactive part of the brain, and go to a space which is much deeper that way. And I don't remember the name of the author who wrote this. He's a doctor, but if you do, there's only one book I could find, which is relating hypnosis and mindfulness, which was very powerful theories in that way. Then I started looking at how do I combine, when we talk about organization leadership, how do I help them if they're really interested in creating a new possibility, if that's a definition of leadership? How do you take organizations through a journey where there is a possibility they get into a mental space which is more fertile to be generative? That's where kind of a practical application that I look at. How do we bring that? One of the challenges, a practical challenge that I have noticed, is about the word. And I'll tell you how I manage that. You know, the word mindfulness sometimes, particularly from an Eastern context, first time when I heard, I thought mind is full. You know, just I need to empty that. Then it was about what is this? So I do a trick. I talk about awareness, because I found that it's much more easily in the boardrooms understood. A deeper level of awareness, and I connect that to 3 triangles: awareness about self, awareness about others, and awareness about purpose. What am I supposed to be here in this world? What is the whole purpose of the organization? And help people to find a sweet spot in the middle. I would like to take care of myself, so I need to be aware of what's going on. I need to be mindful, and I need to honor the other person who is with me. So how do I be mindful of the other? And the third is that we're here for a purpose. So how can I bring all the 3 awareness to one place? And one of the interesting things that we hear from the corporate organizations is that, yeah, awareness is there. What next? And I have a favorite thing to tell. This is about a guy who asked once Osho, you keep talking about enlightenment and enlightenment. So what happened to that guy after enlightenment? How do I measure this? You know, organization want to measure ROI for everything. So how do I know whether he got it? So Osho said, after getting enlightenment, he still go to the same bar to drink, pour a drink, and get drunk, but this time with a higher level of awareness. That's the first step, and the studies prove that awareness higher, all we can do is raise the level of awareness, which is a direct connection to accountability. So we say that if I can connect awareness and accountability, change could be possible. I'm going to pause for a while. Sometimes when I pause, somebody say, can you hypnotize me? I'm not going to do that this time, as I said. Or there could be a question, or there could be a thought, there could be a sharing. Anything to the group? Usually before I start, I ask the group, what would you like to hear? I was in a hurry today, so I didn't. Please.
My question is about hypnosis.
Yes.
Such an interesting field. The question is, what is that basic insight about human psychology or human brain which makes hypnosis possible?
See, I think the word is a tricky. Now, I have been really talking about how do I help people to dehypnotize. Because we are hypnotized right now. So, if you really understand the word from that perspective, look at it. If this world now want to work on what's most important for us now, okay, let's say it's water. Let's say it's medicine for AIDS. You tell me anything. Don't you think we have capability to solve it within days? We have. But we don't. Because we are in a hypnosis. I think it's a society. So for that we need to because the interesting thing about hypnosis is everybody has a meaning what it is. We heard, so many a time, first time when I did in IIT Delhi, a bunch of students who were sitting in the front row will not look up to me. So I said, why are you sitting like this? That we heard that if you look into the eyes of the hypnotist, I'm going to get hypnotized. So I'm not going to do that. I said, no, it's not going to happen. Sometimes people say, man, are you going to do something right now? So we all have. But at the end of the day, what it say is that you're conscious. The way we are operating at this stage, most of the time, is based on the typical patterns from the past. And as a tool, and you don't have to be eyes closed, you don't have to go into a sleep. So the tool, what it does is, it just bypasses the critical factor. So sometimes I call somebody in the stage and say that, okay, you don't know your name now. And they don't, actually. Because I bypass the critical factor. This is called childlike innocence. They have no clue about their name at that point of time. It's possible. And it's possible because your brain is capable of doing that. So we won't have time from a definition perspective, but what I can tell is it's not what we thought it is. Because the movies and the literature has really painted. The first time I got a book on hypnosis told me to make these concentric circles on the wall and keep looking at it without closing my eyes. I did that for a year. And the same book said that to have advanced power, you have to go up to the terrace now and start watching the early morning sun without closing the eyes. I didn't do the second part because I had the power already by the time, which was -2 on my eyes. So I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. So all kind of stuff, it's there. So I'm not going. That. Just coming back to putting this together, then I'll hand over. Most organizations, how many of you are working with organization which has a purpose statement or a vision statement? How many of you remember that? Okay, can you tell me quickly?
And more sustainably.
Okay, so we did a quick study about all the vision statement in the world. And I could actually categorize them into 3 ways. On the top is what I call really purposeful, is like a Walt Disney to make people happy, or Nat Geo to celebrate what is right with the world. So at a higher level, there's a higher purpose. Around 30% of the organizations have articulated that. In the middle level, we found they've articulated something, said to be the most respectful brand, to be the most admired brand. And the bottom level I found they've articulated to be a global player operating in 16 countries with a turnover of. So if you look at these 3 layers, at the bottom it's about me making more money, and it's an ambition than vision. At the middle, almost similar to Maslow's hierarchy, it's about a social status. I want to be more admired. I want to be more known. At the top, it's about what am I here to give back. One of the things, because we are busy acting, even in the 30% of the organizations where have articulated this, they have no sense of this deep inside them. And I felt if I can actually connect them with that higher purpose which they have articulated. So we actually created something called Higher Purpose Index. How do I know organizations are aligned into an articulated higher purpose from that perspective? And how do they stick with this 3, the triangular thing about self, others, and purpose, and operate from a sweet spot in the middle, so that whatever we are doing, it is contributing to the world in large, it's deeply satisfying for the self, and it is supporting the other in that way. And to be there, again, quoting Einstein's words, you got to be in a different mindset or a mental state to be there. That's all I need to say. I'm happy to take a couple of questions and then hand over. And I need to rush back to another place. Otherwise, I would have loved to hang around and meet you in the breaks more and have some chit-chat. But we could, in case if you wanted to connect with me, I have an easy email ID which you never will have to write it down. You can remember it. It's called hypnobaba@gmail.com. So it's easy. Because I have said that's one thing that I have done for maximum number of years in my life. I look like a Baba. People used to ask me, are you a spiritual guy? And usually my answer is, if having spirit every evening makes anybody spiritual, then I am. But I have spirit. It's just that we don't know what the meaning they have. So the hypnobaba@gmail.com will be easier to connect with me in case if you want to reach out. And I've written extensively on this subject, and they are available online. It's called Buddha in the Boardroom.
I must say that one of the fantastic writings I've ever seen is Buddha in the Boardroom. So I suggest check it out.
Yeah. I'm writing a book for Penguin, and I wiggled out the topic from mindfulness. I said, I don't want another book on mindfulness. That's what they asked for. But it's called Winning Without Losing You. So, but mindfulness is there. And to me, it's a path. And it's there everywhere. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, please, question.
What's the question on your birthday?
Just curious, because this is on mindfulness and you're such a mindful person. It's your birthday today. Are you feeling different? What's your level of mindfulness?
I'm not feeling different. I don't know whether it is a video of Alan Watts that I saw yesterday, where he says life is not a linear journey. Because we tend to see life as a linear journey, so I need to go and get something and move on. So it's a linear journey. And really, if it is not linear, what it is. And what I loved in that video, it says, when the music on, you dance. And there is no end to it. There's no beginning. And I added one more. When the music is on, you dance. And when the music is over, switch off the lights. So I didn't even know. So I woke up in the 7 o'clock. I have to travel like Delhi traffic from Noida to Gurgaon. I'm in a workshop. I got a lunch break, and I told them, would you forgive me to get out because it's my birthday? I'm going to be away for 2 hours, and I'll be back soon. Back with them. Same.
Thank you for spending it with us. Thanks.
Yes, please.
Any tool to find out the purpose of life or process?
If I tell you any process, you're going to hold on to that process. It's like people making meditation a goal. I need to know. Because I need peace. There's no difference between the guy who says that I want to make 1 million tomorrow and the other guy say that I wanted to get this tomorrow. I think both are same. And that's also difficulty of concept which are so simple. Because at the end of the day, to me, mindfulness is about how do I bring my awareness on a minute to minute to this level. And we don't need to do anything about it. All we need to do is don't do anything that destroy that awareness. Because I can get pulled on, I could just check my stuff, I could go anywhere. Initially it's difficult, so I give you a framework. What is the framework? Let me tell you one easy framework. Just look around in this room for the next 30 seconds and notice every color. It could be somebody's dress, it could be something which is red in color, and say how many you can catch. 30 seconds. Look everything that is red in color. The guy who gets the highest number will get a prize. It could be a hug from me, but we'll get something. How many? All right, let's see who gets more. Okay, enough. Good. How many? 6, 5, 9, 10. Who is 10? I will ask you to show it, right? Who said 10? 11? Good. So I'm going to go with her. What's your name? Ketki. Help me out. How many greens? The trick is, this is the first thing. Because if you are not practice mindfulness, give something else to hold on. So the fact that she looked only for red, we didn't see green. And she's wearing some of the most beautiful greens. So it's like in the circus, first you give a ring, so after that you make the people without. So one is, initially, if I get distracted all over, there is something to hold on. Look for reds. So at least the focus is on the red. But the problem with holding on is that you miss everything else. But that's a challenge in life, which is okay. Once you learn to hold on and limit the distractions, then you can expand. Have you ever learned drawing? Anybody from fine arts? So when you first started sketching, they teach you something called 7.5. Every human figure is divided into 7 circles and a half. That's how you learn first. But after that, and that's so limiting that time. All this, I used to go and teach at College of Art. They'll crib. I'm a modern artist. I need to be free. And the teacher says 7.5. But once you do 7.5 for a while, then you will play around. Then you have that sense of space. Which is, so one good thing would be, what will help you to hold on the attention without going anywhere? And most tools that you hear are only for that. Choose, and then you could move on. Thank you. Okay, yeah, last, then I'll.
So actually, when you take spirit in the evening, different people have different capacities.
Yes.
In the same way, have you seen a trend when you hypnotize?
Yes.
People, for example, businessmen like Steve Jobs, just a hypothetical question, would it be relatively easier or more difficult to hypnotize people who are very independent, people like Ambani, people like Steve? Do you see a pattern there, or is it like it works equally?
One of the biggest problem with the hypnosis is it only works with intelligent people. That's why I didn't share here that. You know. Anybody can be hypnotized. The only thing is you got to be intelligent enough and willing at that moment. That's it. Bye-bye, guys. See you. Bye.
Okay, so a lot of mindfulness since morning, an overload of mindfulness. Okay, just had lunch, somebody just finished ice cream, so let's get up and let our body move a little, yeah? So can we all stand up, please? Okay, I think I'm doing the Santosh bit here. Santosh workshops, I heard that they are very energetic, so I guess I'm doing his bit. Okay, so this small little game for the next 2-3 minutes is called Do As I Do. Yeah? And say what I say. What is it called? Okay, so do as I do, so you need to be in a space where you can see me, see what I'm doing, yeah? So, are we all game for that? Yeah? Great? All right, just watch me, all right? So I'm not going to hold the mic because it's going to become a little difficult with the mic. Okay, so do as I do, say as I say. All right? So we all begin. All right? Not really comfortable. उसको hold करना पड़ता है. It's okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. You're eating up into our presentation time. Be mindful of that. All right. Okay. Say what you say. Do as I do. Say as I say. All right. So you're going to do it with me. I'm alive. I'm alert. I'm awake. Enthusiastic. Got the pattern? We do it again. I'm alive. I'm alert. I'm awake. Enthusiastic. One I'll let you read that. I wish I can live in this moment, but not this, but somewhere on the beach. Yeah? All right, so a lot of people spoke since morning regarding mindfulness. Yeah, we all have different definitions of mindfulness. So, but what I'm specifically going to speak about is my area of interest, which is how does mindfulness generate compassion? Yeah. So before that, let me share a small story. So there was this lady who wanted to, story is a story, okay? So a lady who wanted to lose weight. So one day she was climbing down the stairs, she slips and she bangs her head against the wall and she's unconscious. And she has a vision of going to the God, okay? And she goes to the God and says, okay, this is it, I'm dead, so I'm no more. I can't do anything with my life, so you've taken me. So God says, no, no, no. So you have 40 more years. So your account, your karma says you have 40 more years. So go down, but there are a few conditions for you when you go down to earth. What? You have to promise me that you'll take care of yourself, okay, lose weight, which you wanted to do. All in all, take care of yourself. She was excited. She says, oh, 40 more years, and she goes back. She comes back to earth, she's gymming, she eats good food, and she's cycling, yeah? And one day she goes into plastic surgery, and she comes out, and a bus comes and hits her, and she's dead, okay? And she goes to God. And God, she says, what the hell, you told me I have 40 more years, and here I am back in about 2 weeks. And the God says, oh, sorry, I forgot to recognize you. So, compassion can change you in ways, even when, in ways in which God can't recognize you. Yeah? So, welcome. Okay, I want to ask you, I want to throw this question out to you. Help me with what you feel is compassion. Mark my words, what you feel and not what you think. All right, let's devote the next few minutes to just feeling. Anybody wants to help me with what is compassion? Yes. Can we have the mic for her, please? Okay, whatever you're comfortable with.
I'm saying when I feel compassion, my heart expands.
Okay, so somebody feels a sense of expansion when they feel compassion. Anybody else? Universal love. Okay.
Truly feel for the person, truly feeling and in bad and good for the person, situation, entity, whatever. Truly feeling.
Okay, so you're trying to say feeling the other person suffering. Yeah? Fantastic. Anything else? Empathy and non-judgmental. Okay. Anything else? Okay, wow. Love, understanding, and letting the person just be. Yes, Michael? Sorry, something? Okay, okay. So there is something fantastic, something unbearable about compassion, to feel it deeply. Anything else? Yes. Lovely. Feeling another person's suffering and moved to do something about it. Yeah? Okay. So this is what, in simple definition, is compassion for me. Acha? You're going on road, yeah? somebody is a blind person and he's asking people to help him cross the road, yeah? So you help that person cross the road, yeah? So you're able to feel what he's feeling and you're moved to do something about it, yeah? Simple ways. Okay, let's look at where did this word originate, yeah? So a lot of us, I see it's an instant when Dr. Dan Siegel, who is my great inspiration, was in the US and there was a conference and His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, was in the speaker's lineup. He was on the podium. So when Dan went up to speak about the difference between empathy and compassion, His Holiness assistant said, please don't use the two words in the same paragraph because His Holiness gets confused what is empathy and what is compassion. Okay? So, let's look at the root of the word compassion. Suffer with. Yeah? It takes a lot of courage and a lot of persistence. As Dr. Paul Gilbert, one of the well-known psychiatrists in Britain, he says, he so beautifully puts it, what are the roots of compassion? Courage to really understand what the other person is going through. Persistence, you often feel like giving up, but saying, hey, you know what, if I need to go to the depth, if I need to feel peace with myself, yeah, I need to understand the root of my suffering and be with it continuously. Yeah, courage and persistence. Those are the two qualities with which one can practice compassion. Okay, so there are different traditions which talk about compassion. This is my favorite topic, so or rather section where I'm generally curious about what the different traditions in the world talk about compassion as. So there you go. You can read it for yourself. Yeah, can you imagine whatever we've been talking since morning? Mindfulness, awareness, present-centered, whatever it is, have been in our ancient texts. Yeah? The Vedas' idea of compassion is daya. Yeah? And Western psychology, as I put it before. And Buddhism says, compassion is the result of knowing one is a part of a great whole and interdependent and connected to the whole. Yeah? Okay, so we may be thinking, why do I need compassion? You may be thinking, isn't this whole summit about mindfulness? Why are we talking about compassion? Yeah? Why do we need compassion? Forget about compassion to others. Why do we need compassion to ourselves? Life is hard. Why life is hard? The Four Noble Truths, what the Buddha said. So let's even forget what the Buddha said. Okay? So as an experiment which I keep doing on myself, I was always asking, what does this suffering exactly mean? By the way, now the Buddhist monks prefer to use the word stress instead of suffering. Because the moment suffering was uttered in corporate world, they says, oh my God, we don't suffer. Yeah? We are stressed out. Yeah? So when I started doing experiment and researching, what is that in my life that could be suffering? When there's no big calamity which has happened in my life, I actually realized my own disappointments, my own anger, jealousy, sadness, extreme when they hit, extreme, either extreme, is what suffering is all about. Let's break down this heaviness about suffering. Our day-to-day life. Our day-to-day life has suffering because of our disappointments, expectations. Yeah? So life is hard. Okay? Okay, so in the morning, Sadhya spoke, and I guess a couple of my other friends also spoke. So the good news is, we are not responsible, we are not at fault for the brains we have inherited. Isn't that the good news? We have lost a little bit of responsibility. Jitna mein jitna nikalo, utna bada hai. So we are not at fault, okay? Because we've evolved, we have inherited those genes, yeah? But that doesn't mean you blame everything on the genes. Isn't it a fantastic responsibility we have that we can practice ways, or we have a tool with which we can actually overcome the reactions we have to certain things in our lives. Isn't that fantastic? I feel that's a fantastic thing for humanity. Yes, we have inherited, but hey, what? You know what? We do have ways with which we can overcome the resistance we have, yeah? So there is something called as the old brain and the new brain. So Dr. Paul Gilbert talks about old brain and the new brain. And he says, what is your old brain? Your old brain is your whole Stone Age brain, which is evolved and which wants to survive, okay, and which has motives. And through your mindfulness practice, what are you trying to do? You're trying to build a new brain, which will take its time, yeah? So when you're at a situation in life where you are, you don't know what to do, there is no flow. Somebody was talking about a flow in the morning, yeah? There's no flow, you don't know what to do, yeah? It's the old brain versus the new brain, yeah? Okay, so a lot of people have spoken about this since morning. I'll just leave it. Whether you want to call it mindfulness, whether you want to call it awareness, whether you want to call it present-centered therapy, call it whatever you want, all right? What I have realized and what I share with my clients is, moment to moment, you're sitting here right now, just the act of bringing back your attention to the now. Every time it goes away, say it's okay, bring it back. Say it's okay, bring it back. Say it's okay, bring it back. It's such a foundation for your brain where there are, Dr. Ajay shared the neuroscience behind it. That is it. Just start with a simple practice. Yeah, you don't even have to sit and meditate for 5 minutes. Let's forget about meditation right now. You're sitting somewhere, bring back your attention, bring back your attention. The nature of the mind is to wander. Please know that. Please know your mind will go away to Africa, to Sri Lanka, wherever. But just bring back your attention to the here and now. That is it. I have found this to be such a powerful practice in my own life. But please remember, the art of bringing back your attention every time it goes away without getting disappointed. Without saying, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I should be doing this. That's okay. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. That's the magic, if you want to call it the magic. Yeah? And as Nitya was sharing in the morning, impermanence. It's experiential. When you sit and realize the impermanence, it goes on changing, goes on changing, goes on changing. I feel as a personal practice, these two things, being kind to yourself, hey, you know what, my attention has gone away. That's okay, bring it back, bring it back. Yeah? So these are the tools, these are the two pillars of mindfulness. Okay, so before I go ahead, all right, I know you've done a couple of practices since morning, okay? So let's do something different, yeah? Can we all get up? Yeah? And very gently, all of you, very gently relax yourself. Yeah. If your hands and legs are stiff, yeah, just let them loose. Okay. And very gently close your eyes. And let go of anything heavy, anything discomforting in the body. Yeah. And just feel your body breathing in and out. Just go with the rhythm of the body, however it is, however it is. Very gently open your eyes and all you need to do is follow my instructions for the next few minutes. Yeah? You can walk in whatever direction you want to walk. All you need to do is, when you're walking, be aware or feel the movement in your legs. Feel how the soul lifts off the floor and touches the floor. As slow as possible. Please feel whatever there is in your legs, how your legs are moving. Okay? You can start now. Very gently, step by step. As your feet goes off the floor, you can feel it lift in the air as you place it again on the floor. If your attention goes away, just bring it back to the moment. You're just walking, just walking. Now you can calmly go and take your seats back. So what did you just do? Mindful walking. Whatever you want to call it, irrespective of the word you use. You brought back your attention to what you were doing, what you were doing, what you were doing, without judgment, what you were doing. That is it. Yeah? So this is a passionate area of science for me, which is budding, interpersonal neurobiology. Fantastic study. Dr. Dan is one of the pioneers. So he brings a lot of different branches into one common, under a common umbrella. And it's fantastic to know that interpersonal neurobiology now says that what is the mind? The mind is the brain's activity. Yeah? So, if you just Google, you'll find a lot of information about it. And usko thoda theek kijiye. Yeah. All right. So, we've been talking about the brain since morning, right? So let's put our brain in in a simplified version. Yeah? All of you, can you lift your right hand for me, please? Yeah? Okay. So this is again something called as the hand model of the brain, which is very interesting. When I especially share it with children, they get very excited. Okay? So we're going to put the whole brain in the palm of our hand and see as to what exactly happens when one practices mindfulness. We'll bring down the big complicated structure of the brain into the palm of our hand. Where is our spinal cord? Do we have a spinal cord? Yeah? Oh, thank God, yes. I need to check mine. I do have one. Okay. So let's put the spinal cord, which is here. Okay. So this is a spinal cord. Yeah? And the middle of the palm is called the brain stem, which is responsible for your body regulation. If your heart is beating properly, your blood pressure is fine, you're breathing properly, thank your brain stem. Okay? And do you see the thumb? This is something called as your limbic area. Limbic area is basically your hippocampus, amygdala, I guess the neuroscientists would know better, is basically responsible to responding to your relationship, whatever kind of relationship. Yeah? And when this limbic system comes over your brain stem, yeah? All right? This is below something called as the cortex. Did you see the cortex in the morning? Yeah? So let's put the cortex in our fingers. Bring your fingers over your limbic and your brainstem, please. What is happening? The cortex is over your limbic and your brainstem. All right? So this is your cortex. And let's assume the nails are your eyes. Yeah? So this portion is your cortex. What is the frontmost portion of the cortex called? Prefrontal cortex. Yeah? And what is the middle portion of the prefrontal cortex called? Middle prefrontal cortex. That's easy. Yeah? So now, what exactly happens when you do mindfulness? When you are with your sensations, your breath, without judgment, without liking it, disliking it. So when you bring your fingers over your limbic and your brainstem, there are fibers coming out from the middle prefrontal cortex which go over to the limbic area and in turn connects to the brainstem. Every time you get angry, every time you feel like taking a glass of water and throwing it, or you want to react on impulse, and pause before that, please know you are exercising this part of your brain. Yeah? So I teach this to children and they go and do this to their parents, I'm sure, which annoys them. So this part of the brain. Yeah? And can you believe it that so there's recently been a lot of research being done on how this part of the brain actually helps in generating compassion. So when you actually exercise this portion of the brain, research says that it's the same portion of the brain which helps you get insight into why that person is doing what he's doing, feel empathy, compassion. Yeah? So isn't it a fantastic tool when somebody says mindfulness, a byproduct of mindfulness is compassion? There you go. So when Vineet in the morning asked us to do strokes on the canvas here, so I just thought that the canvas is mindfulness, okay? And the strokes of brushes are your skills. Be it compassion, be it kindness, be it goal setting. Yeah? Mindfulness becomes a way of life. Yeah? So that's something handy. Okay, so I'll leave this to you, but a very, very beautiful and favorite part of my research We've all been talking about mindfulness, mindfulness, mindfulness. So Dr. Dan said when he went and interviewed close to about 1 lakh or more philanthropists, spiritual teachers, psychiatrists, neuroscientists, physicists, what do you mean by the mind? Some of them said, oh, you know what, it's a sin to define the mind. And some of them said, we don't know. A lot of educators tried to define it, but then said, I don't know. Isn't it amazing that we keep talking about mindfulness, mindfulness, mindfulness? How can we work on something if we do not know what it is? Developing the mind of the child, developing the mind of the leader. How can you work on something if you don't know? Yeah? There was his whole thought. And then he defined this. If you have an ant bite, why do you go and itch there? Why do you feel like applying something there? It's because your brain has sent the information, nervous system, yeah? So there's an ant bite, do something about it, yeah? So it's a self-regulating, emergent, embodied, because it's completely throughout your body, and relational. Why relational? Because he says that mind is between me and you. When I'm having a conversation, how I perceive you, yeah? So that's the relational part. So mind is within us and between us, yeah? Okay, so when His Holiness asked Dan Siegel and a couple of experts to say, so Dan said, look, we have a problem. The way man has evolved is, let's say, there are people in cave A and there are people in cave B, okay? So if there are people from cave A who come and attack cave B, obvious response would be to either get killed or kill the other person. That's survival. So in this kind of an evolution, with this kind of a mind, how do we generate compassion? Yeah? So the Dalai Lama said there are 2 kinds of compassion. The first one is towards oneself. Yeah? The rest you can read it yourself. So the second one is the most challenging one. And what mindfulness does is help over a period of time. Don't expect miracles, but over a period of time with courage and persistence, you develop the second kind of compassion. Yeah? Okay, so good news is I'm almost at the end of my presentation. Okay, so this is what I'm very excited about. Plane of possibilities, okay? So just go back to what you did a couple of minutes ago. What did you do? Just walk. Just walk. Every time I told you your attention went away, you brought it back. You brought it back. You brought it back without getting disappointed. Yeah? So what excites me about humanity is we are in such a fantastic time. This is it. When you are aware, when you are in the zone of awareness, whether Nitya says or I say, be aware. Can there be a Nitya awareness, can be a Jyoti awareness, or can there be a Michael awareness, or can there be a Marut awareness? No, right? Awareness is awareness. Isn't that fantastic? We are all connected already. You're just witnessing. I feel that's so fantastic. That's such an amazing place to begin. Yeah? Okay, this is my favorite. This was like a eureka moment for me when John Kabat-Zinn said that in most East Asian languages, including Tibetan, the word for mind is the same as the word for heart. So whether it's mindfulness or heartfulness. Mindfulness without non-judgment, can create people who have clarity. That's again been my experiment on myself. Can create clarity, confident, but we can become very goal-driven and ruthless. When you bring in the non-judgment part, when you witness as it is, which turns into kindness later, is what makes mindfulness for what it is. Yeah? So why do we need mindfulness? I'm actually coming from a city which the news channels was burning. Bangalore was burning, so before I came here. And I really felt, oh my God, what a, I just connected. I'm here talking about compassion, and look at what my city is going through. So we need compassion, compassion, and compassion. And what? It is not some mumbo jumbo word. It is so based in hardcore science. Compassion works. Compassion is practical because of the neural changes which happen in your brain. I guess Dr. Ajay would agree. Yeah? All right, so I'll leave you with this favorite poem of mine by Derek Walcott, who actually summarizes what is mindfulness. Yeah? So if you can just take a few moments to read it. You can also Google it. What a fantastic poem. What a fantastic poem. Love after love. So after reading this poem, just go back to where we are in this big cosmos. Yeah? You go back and see the solar system. There is this blue dot which is hanging in the middle of nowhere. That's a planet Earth. That's where we are. So doesn't it make sense to live life with compassion? God knows who created it. God knows where we are going, but what makes sense is to practice mindfulness and become more loving to ourselves and more loving to the world around us. Okay, so I all welcome you to a new way of being, whether it's in your organizations, whether it's in your college or schools. Please, let's start with bringing back our attention to whatever it is without liking or disliking. I think we are in a fantastic time where we have a tool like this, and I welcome all of you to start living in a new way. Yeah? Thank you so much. May you all be blessed. May you all be happy and peaceful. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jyoti.